I'm recording this in Eglur's Llanddyfrdog. There has been a Christian community worshipping on or near the site for over a millennium. On Sunday the 22nd of November, I conducted the last act of public worship in this building. I have many great, good, even eccentric predecessors. In this particular setting, I will have no successor. On a winter's morning in St Mary's Church in Llanacamedd, about 2 miles from where I'm speaking, I can see my breath as I celebrate communion with 3 people, as my fingers turn a bluish tinge on the chalice. I would never invite a young family to this. I think silently as my 3 companions sing a song that no one in the community now knows. On Christmas morning in Amlwch, the copper town of 3,500 people, no one came. Church attendance in these parts has been dwindling for years. I lead or led 10 congregations, with the largest being 20 people, and the smallest sometimes just one other apart from myself. It does not make it easier to digest. It is true that some newer forms of worship are growing, and I am welcomed into lots of arenas of community life without question. The facts, though, are incontrovertible. Even for a priest or to ethnographer, more people come into my church buildings for projects than to worship. In 2018, in Amlwch, we had the Poppy Project to mark the centenary of the end of the Great War. About between 40 or 50 women gathered week by week on a Tuesday evening to crochet poppies. I was just there to make the tea. They had a go at teaching me how to crochet. I failed badly. Yet only 15 or so come on a Sunday morning, and there's no crossover between the two. If my primary role is to encourage people to worship, then a long, hard look at the institution and myself is called for. On Easter Sunday this year, I did not go physically into a church building to worship. This was the first time in my living memory. The churches and chapels of the UK were all closed. I'm a priest in the church in Wales, which is an autonomous part of the Anglican Communion. My formative years and adult years have been shaped by church and chapel going, and the religious beliefs associated by such attendance. Do you feel redundant, I'm asked as I walk past a residential care home by a member of staff. I'm annoyed, even a little incensed by the question. I have not been inactive during this time of coronavirus. I've been with the bereaved, I've taken funerals, I've ensured the faithful have received regular homilies, prayer booklets, and Bible studies, as well as pausing at a physical distance to pray with people at their own request. It feels like I've spent days on social media, whether that be on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, which latterly my youngest nephew has introduced me to. I've done things differently. For the questioner, though, even if it is no more than a passing comment on a summer's day, I've not been seen. I've not been seen in places where I would usually just have been, as the visible public square has been closed, or has reinvented itself in different ways. And the vicar is not on the invitation list anymore. When are you reopening, I'm asked. Will we reopen is a question that I dare not yet ask. In all my churches, much of the demographic is elderly, with many of those who join me for worship falling into a vulnerable category by virtue of age or health concerns. What if we don't reopen, I wonder? As the question is posed, A kaleidoscope of thoughts all clamour for my attention. What would I do? Ministry as a priest has shaped the last 20 years of my life. If we did reopen, what if no one came? Well, that's a question that brings me out in a cold sweat. Many of those who attend worship with me do so out of habit. That's what they tell me. I'm not particularly religious, Vicar, is an oft-repeated mantra that always seems a bit strange when they receive communion from my hand. Indeed, someone recently described my congregations as functionally atheist. The closure of places of worship for nearly 5 months has given people a new habit to learn, to get used to. If no one comes, what does it mean to the value of my ministry? To my own value as an individual? In the vestry in St. Eleth Church in Amlwch, there's a list of those who've been previously being the vicar of the area. The first one, Griffith ap Robert, was vicar in 1192. We're a long line of faithful people, and here I am, Kevin, Stuart, Ellis, BA Honours, PhD, perhaps the last in a long line. COVID-19 has shone a light on what is already there, a dwindling band of increasingly older saints singing songs that perhaps are no longer believed in a world that is indifferent to institutionalized forms of religion. Thank you for listening thus far. I want to explore the costs of keeping going an institution that sometimes no longer knows what it stands for and looks for hope that there might be a life beyond something, allowing something to die. The Christian hope in the resurrection, of course, can be a double bind. Sometimes it's good to say goodbye. But will I be relieved or sad? That's a question. Stay with me.